striding across the battlefield atop stomping titanic legs. Their guns blazing as they trumpet their arrival for all to hear, the Imperial Knights are an ancient weapon and a noble fighting force for the Imperium. During the golden age of mankind, as humanity spread out amongst the stars and colonised planets galore, these intrepid explorers would encounter all manner of dangers. Travelling in starships designed to land and be converted into raw resources, they took with them standard template constructs, machines that could instruct and refine all that they would need. These STCs didn't just stop there, however, and presented a variety of weapons and equipment with which the humans could defend themselves, the greatest and downright coolest of which would be known as the Imperial Knights. These towering constructs were produced in great numbers on colonies, with their pilots becoming famous amongst their people for their skill in a knight suit and their role in protecting the growing colony. These formidable armoured walkers could traverse dangerous terrain, prevail through terrible climates, and still be battle ready to defend their people, acting as the mailed fist of humanity as they expanded out into the stars. In order to operate a knight, pilots jacked into its throne mechanicum, connecting directly to the machine via neural and cerebral uplinks. This joining with the machine slowly altered the pilots over time, with those who spent more time in their suits becoming more authoritarian. Soon, they began to value chivalric conduct, ritual observance, and loyalty and fealty became completely embedded amongst the pilots. As this change took over their protectors, some worlds found their entire social dynamic change, with these knight pilots becoming the first nobles of their planet, and those that served them becoming their serfs. These worlds regressed almost, becoming a techno-feudal system where life was simple and won by the sweat of your brow. With a dislike for AI machines that would do all the work for them, no gene altering, and the killing of any psychers that emerged by branding them as witches. The Night Worlds were, for the most part, left untouched when the downfall of mankind came. The only change for the Night Worlds was a lack of any visitors or ships from off-world, and so, as galactic human civilization burned across the stars through Old Night, the feudal worlds just hunkered down, enforced their borderlands, and stockpiled resources for the future. Living these simple medieval lives for thousands of years, they would eventually be visited by the Emperor of Man's Great Crusade. Over a period of decades, many night worlds were found and brought into the fold of the Imperium. Tens of thousands of knights strode across the battlefields of man, slaughtering Xenos in their droves in the name of honour and duty. Some knightly houses swore oaths to the Emperor and his crusade, where others swore allegiance to the Adeptus Mechanicum. For some, this was based on who found them first, but for others, their need for repairs, supplies and support could only be satisfied by the Mechanicum directly. In return, the Mechanicum gained access to troves of thought-lost technology, safely stored within the sanctuaries of these knightly houses. Those who swore their allegiance to Mars would become known as Questor Mechanicus, whereas those who swore to Terra became Questor Imperialis. Regardless of who they swore to though, all rode out to battle in the Great Crusade of Man. The Throne Mechanicum not only connects the pilot to their machine, it links them in such detail that the walker becomes an extension of their own bodies. With such a holistic connection, an untrained mind can be shattered by such an experience. To prepare pilots for their lifelong task, noble houses train their children from birth with mental conditioning and cerebral augmentations. When they come of age to undergo the ritual of becoming, the child is taken to the house's sanctuary, where they are connected to a dormant throne and left overnight. The throne battles them, both man and machine attempting to gain dominance over the other. For those who are able to withstand the force of the throne and imprint their own psyche onto the machine, they emerge from the chamber ennobled, with the mantle of knighthood. For those, however, who fall to the onslaught of the overlapping cerebral engrams, Their minds are lost to them, and death is considered a blessing for these failed aspirants. One further unique aspect of the Throne Mechanicum is its ability to remember. They contain mnemic engram reliquaries and spectronic foci that allow them to store synaptic echoes of those pilots that came before. In some ways, this allows the throne to whisper advice from the warriors of the past, in a similar way Obi-Wan helped Luke destroy the Death Star. In a more sinister view, however, it also means that each knight is haunted by every pilot that came before. Their blood might be clean from the seat, but their death still staining the machine beneath. For those smaller households who are unable to train their young for the thrones, or as an honour saved for those among the peasantry who proved themselves to be true warriors, there is an alternative to the Throne Mechanicum. Armigers, among the smallest class of knight, do not use a throne. Instead, they are piloted using a helm mechanicum. These helmets are placed upon the heads of pilots and plug into their cerebrum via prefrontal sockets. Due to this less invasive connection, there is no need for the preparation or rituals that are required for the full use of a throne. Because of this, however, those who pilot these smaller knights are given less prestige than those who pilot their larger kin. It is compounded by the fact that many armigers will be neurally slaved to the command impulses of a larger knight, turning their pilot into a bondsman of their house. This is not seen as dishonourable, and simply adds to the feudal structure of these knightly houses. As with all aspects of the Great Crusade, the knights were not free from the concept of treachery. When the Horus Heresy occurred, there were some knightly houses who saw their alliance to the War Master rather than to the Emperor. There were also those Questor Mechanicum who owed their duty to the aspects of the Cult Mechanicum that had sided with Horus. Whatever their reasoning, many knight houses did turn against the Emperor and joined with Horus and his insurrection. These Quaestor Traitoris were a powerful tool for Horus and were hunted by their loyalist counterparts. We'll touch more on Chaos Knights in a future video, but they hunt the forces of the Imperium still, their oaths binding them to Abaddon and the plans of Chaos. One loyalist knightly house that I do want to touch on today is House Terran. Hailing from the tropical world of Voltaurus, this house can trace their lineage back over thousands of years of past glories and exploits. The reason why this house sticks out for me is that when I first got into the hobby, the Games Workshop carrier bags had a House Terran Knight Errant on the side. This has cemented in my brain that this is the ultimate knightly house, and their current fight in the 40k universe isn't dissuading me of that notion. Currently, their homeworld is beset on both sides by Tyranids of Highfleet Leviathan and the ever-expanding spheres of the Tau Empire. For centuries, this house has stood strong against these Xenos invaders, but with recent developments, more and more knights are being recalled home to help fight a new alien threat. With the galaxy torn apart by the Great Rift, the ripples of energy that spilt out from this tear awoke something beneath the surface of the planet. Rising up from beneath the tropical lakes of Voltaurus come legions of the metal warriors of the Necrons. Their partially intact tomb world awakening to find the Night House having taken up residence there. Their house leader, Patriarch Tybalt, did not give in to the Tyranids, nor the Tau, and he would not allow the Necrons to take this world either. As such, House Terran is engaged in a fight to the death, finding glory in the honour they bring as they defend Voltaurus once more. Giant robot walkers with chainswords the size of tanks and battle cannons the size of buildings? It's not hard to see why these large lads are a fan favourite to see in games of Warhammer 40k. Being able to create your own knightly house and lore behind them, or just enjoy the numerous already established houses, and then charge across the battlefield to bring your noble justice to the enemies of man, it's just a lot of fun. They might not be the most practical, but in my opinion, they just look so cool I'd happily lose every game with them and still be smiling. I've really enjoyed diving into what the Imperial Knights are and how they fit into the Imperium as a whole. If you've enjoyed the trip too, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. It really helps us to continue what we're doing. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.